Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and I'll just wait for everybody to get here first. And then just going to do I'm just putting up a notification of where we are. Just bear with me 1 second. And I will be able to start the broadcast. Hang on a second. Yeah, see if that works. All right. So, hi, Carrie. Hi, Jody. Hi, Peaches. And yeah, did you get your Doritos? I clean forgot about the Doritos. Hi, Triona. How are you doing? Well done. By the way, we have to in part thank Triona for today's topic because one of the case studies came from her. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you guys feed me topics that we can talk about. You know, it's amazing if I've got sort of something I can work around, it makes the job so much easier. So I really, really, really thank you. The bunny forgot the Doritos. And the bunny remembered the bunny rabbit's favorite things. Oh, the bunny must be oh, you'll get double. Don't worry, Jody. By the way, this is what a dead Mars bar looks like. Um, if ever you want to see two Mars bars disappear I think I inhaled them. Happy Easter, everybody. I literally watched the clock, counted down, and then I ripped the. Ah, gosh. Yeah, I know you love that bunny rabbit that forgot the Doritos, but oh gosh, I can imagine how he must be feeling. Well, Peaches, I really appreciate the fact that you allow me to, if you know what I mean. I think we help a lot more people when we do this. Hi, Jerry. Happy Easter. Yes, enjoy whatever it is you're having. Hi, Sarah. Yes, and that is one of my questions for today. Are you the problem mother? You know me, I've got a sense of humor, and so I would discuss that as well. So the just bear with me. I just want to get the notes up here so I can talk about it. But before we do, I just wanted to do my usual disclaimer here. Number one, that you all know that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist. I am just a human being who's lived quite a long time. And I honestly believe that the more we can talk about these difficult subjects with a bit of wit and wisdom, the more we will help each other. And so I would really like you to be aware of that. The other disclaimer I want to make sure you're aware of is this is the internet. So if there's anything that you don't want to discuss, don't discuss it. Do you all understand what I'm saying here? So, it's like I can do whatever I can. I had a special request after the last broadcast to actually turn off the chat on the replay. And I think that's a pretty good idea. And I intend to do that unless anybody particularly doesn't want me to do that, I will talk about it. But I think that's a pretty safe way of doing it. In other words, if you're in the chat, that's one thing. But once the chat is finished, then I'm going to turn the chat off for the replay. Yeah, it took me a little while to to find out how to do it. You know me, I get challenged. But I was pretty sure that there was a way, and I found it, and I did it. It took me, yeah. So we'll leave it on, obviously, for for a while we're discussing things because, I really like it that you guys are feeding back and that you're helping him. All right, so that's the first thing I wanted to make sure we all agreed on was that we have that issue. Now, let me just skip to my notes here. Um, oh, I had a great quote. I wonder what it was because it didn't come up. All right, so just update quickly. And probably are more updates, but I just wanted to update what I know about. Lauren got transferred from her fancy hospital back to her local hospital, which means her family can visit her again now. And well done, Lauren. And then she will be there until she has the skin graft done when she'll go back to the fancy hospital again. So just so that you all know about that. And the other thing is that we hear that Paul's having a pretty rough time. So anybody who supports Paul, just keep doing what you can to help here. Birthdays, for those who remember Laurie's life journey, her birthday on the 2nd, which is tomorrow, and Jody, happy birthday for the 3rd. And then later in the month, we've got Paul's and Adam's, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, he shut you out. Okay, well, you know something. Have you ever done that, Kerry, when you're overwhelmed? So let's quickly talk about that before we get into the main topics. Have any of you ever been so overwhelmed with life, with yourself, with whatever, that you just cut people out? And I had one friend who had a great solution to that. And Kerry, I'm certain that you've already doing this because I think we've talked about it before. But what she did, yeah, I'm not surprised. What she did was that she would just phone my number, and there's a way of just leaving a message for somebody without actually connecting with them, right? And she would just leave me a hug. She'd just say, "I'm just phoning to leave you a hug." And I would suggest, as we've always said, we're only responsible for our behavior, not the other person. So keep sending the little email notes, keep making a positive comment on his Facebook. My attitude is do what you do. What he does is his issue. Yeah, I think we all probably have done it, Sarah. That's. By the way, Sarah, welcome. Have we seen you before here? We like new people. Because if we haven't, then we'd like to do a quick roll call to let you know where everybody is and roughly how old they are, and so you understand the mentality of who you've got. So, and if you could let us know what part of the world you're in, or what county, state, whatever. Because it depends where you are as to whether you would call it a county, state, or if you happen to be in Canada, not live. Well, welcome. If you happen to be in Canada, it would be a province. So, Sarah, a couple of, I don't mean to embarrass you here, but a couple of heads up. We have a pretty strict filter on in terms of language. I'm just so that you know that. If some bad language creeps through, forgive us. We try to do what we can. So that's a heads up. The other thing is we've got some terminology you need to know about, Sarah. If anybody's going off to the washroom, they're going to probably just write the word mop because that's our. I'm I'm only responsible for my own behavior. Newly married and mother of a 15-year-old boy. Okay, excellent. And lives in New York. Wow, welcome. We're really pleased to have you. And you've been watching the vlogs. Which of the vlogs do you like most? What sort? I love meeting viewers. By the way, while I'm talking about this, I'm going to give the terminology in a second. I realize that it's about to be tulip season again. Do you want me to do that tulip tour again? Did you enjoy that? For those of you who perhaps can't get out of. What was the word? What word did I miss? Mop. Yes, MOP. Well, the reason that it's called mop is because I once said, "Is it right if I take a break? If not, does anybody have a mop?" Um, it sort of stuck. Everybody kept it since. All right. So this is the first. So the other thing you need to know about Sarah. Ah, bless you. What a nice supporter. The other thing is that very occasionally you will hear me say, uh, "Is it okay if I hit you with a 2x4?" Now, that doesn't mean anything other than the fact I'm about to tell you something that I believe might be relevant, but it may hurt. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where sometimes you need to sort of discuss the truth, but the truth may be painful. Do you I've just realized how much my packing is sitting here. Um, do you get what I mean? So if you see people go, oh, here comes a 2x4, that's what they mean. They can tell because they know me. They can tell I'm warming up for a across somebody's. And I'm 70 in Southern British Columbia. Um, all right, so that's that. And what else? I'm sure they'll tell you. And by the way, yeah, that's exactly what it is. But it's only my opinion, Sarah. Do you understand that? It's not right or wrong. It's just my opinion. And I guess for you to be here, you want my opinion. All right, so we got a great program that I worked out for today. Well, I think it is. It's challenging though, and I did wonder. I nearly didn't do it. Hi, Pat. I nearly didn't do it because I thought it's a pretty solid subject to do on Easter. So happy Easter for all of you who. I just stopped talking because there we go. My broadcast notes all disappeared, which sort of was a little bit of a golly gee. All right, so here's the first one that we heard. And I want to just thank the person who sent it to me because I thought uh, probably more than one person has this problem. And here it was. Are you all ready for this one? My mum, who's 70, that's what she's telling me. And by the way, just coincidence that she's the same old age as me. But then I noticed she wrote, and in brackets, she's an old 70, if you know what I mean, not like you who can relate to things. And I don't have much of a relationship, not as an adult relationship. I wonder if any of you relate to that. Anyway, she will talk about the weather, the kids, maybe ask me about work sometimes, but can be condescending and past from, I'm not quite sure what that meant, but past remarkable. I think sometimes she acts jealous. I've been looking into narcissistic mothers, and I see a lot of similarities. So, do any of you relate to the viewer's topic? And have you ever met a mother like this? A mother that is aloof. Oh, Pat relates. Okay. Which word? Which word, Peaches? I just, the reason I say that is because the narcissistic. You like that. All right. So for those of you who, just in case anybody doesn't know what that means, narcissistic is somebody who's totally into themselves and really not. They pretend to care about other people, but quite honestly, they don't. And I'm just going to copy and paste it for you guys in case anybody wants to look it up. Just hold on one second. So loaded, yeah. There we go. So basically, hi, Leslie joins us from Scotland. Hi, Les. Good to see you. Liz is one of our most inspiring um, viewers. She's been with us since the get-go. Happy Easter, Les, or probably nearly the end of Easter for you, but happy Easter Monday coming up. And Leslie, when we first met her, was an agoraphobic. She hadn't left the house in 3 years. And I am pleased to say that we helped her do that. All right. So, but here is the thing. Is it very unusual for a mother to have that sort of a relationship with a daughter? I don't know. I really suspect in some ways that, massive hugs back to you, Liz. You know something, Leslie? You're always welcome back. You know that. That's the only thing I care about. All right. So, Carrie, you say your mother isn't a narcissist because why? What are some of the behaviors your mother does that you guys recognize? Maybe some of you can say, if you think you've got if you think you've got a narcissistic parent, it can be mother or father, what sort of behaviors do you see? Now, I can remember once being told that I was a narcissist. And you know me, that would upset me. And I actually went to a therapist. And I said, I know that you guys can do these tests, whatever. So could you do me a favor? Can you check me out? I've got somebody calling me a narcissist. And if it's true, I want to do something about it. So give me the test, whatever it is. And I need to tell you, there is a specific test that they give you. And the therapist actually burst out laughing when he was asking me the questions because he said, I don't even need to ask you this question. I already I already know the answer because I've talked to you for more than 5 minutes. But anyway, so he read all these different things out. And let me tell you what surprised me. As he did it, I went, well, a little bit of that. Yeah, and, no, not that one, no, not that one. No, a little bit of that. Do you know what I mean? It's like I couldn't say I'd never done it. It was just like, "Yeah, there's a little bit of me that does that." Do any of you relate? It's sort of like, I'd love to be perfect, but nope, I'm not. And so at the end of it, he said, "Well, what do you think? Do you think you're a narcissist?" And I said, "Well, I may be, 'cause I did answer a little bit to a couple of those, and I definitely couldn't say I've never done it." And he said, "You are such a failure," which you don't expect to hear from a therapist, right? And he said, "You're such a failure, Sal." And I go, "What?" And he said, "To be a narcissist, you would have had to actually answer yes to every one of those." So it's not that they don't care a little bit. It's about, do they just totally not care about anybody? They're totally into themselves. So I think it's a degree of narcissism that we want to talk about. Have I lost anybody yet? Or did I describe that in a way that makes some sense? So it's about the degree of narcissism. So I think that what we need to look at yeah, is that we actually all have some degree of narcissistic behaviors, I'm pretty sure, right? Unless I got perfect people here. If I got perfect people, then I just did something wrong. Just bear with me here. Have you ever done something wrong? And thank you, God, that's very good. I was trying to do something smart. Let me see if I can do it now. There we go. There we go. I wanted to put up a little promo thing and see if I'm capable of doing that. All right. So, um, do any of you think you have pretty narcissistic parents or siblings? What does it look like to you? And if anybody has looked up the definition, what sort of behaviors should we be looking out for? Yeah, exactly, Sarah, right? What's perfection? That we're all selfish sometimes. Yeah. And that's why I said when I answered the questions, I'm going, I'd love to tell you that's not true of me, but that's not true. And so, but what I heard, maybe we can word it in a different way. How many of you would understand if I said that the parents are cold rather than narcissistic? Lack of compassion, right? Very selfish. Good. What else? What other sort of description would you say? Very controlling, I would add into there. Their way is the right way. Am I correct? They are very set in their ways and not prepared to bend a whole lot. They probably don't do change too well either. And stubborn. Okay. All right. So gaslighting. Give us a description of gaslighting so that everybody understands that. That's when all the attention has to be on you. I think is that right? Oh yes, the good one, Sarah. How about people who are unable to say, "I am so sorry, I was wrong on that." Yeah, a very good one. So I would say, Peaches, that the people that we're talking about don't even see the social cues. They're so into themselves, they don't see anybody else's social cues. Ah, so you think, Triona, that maybe part of the issue is that they are depressed? Well, Jerry, I think we all know people like that. Ooh. Gaslighting is when someone makes you think you're crazy. How many of you relate that one? Self-absorbed? Yeah, how many of you know this one that they actually keep sort of setting you up to look like you're crazy? Or, they'll say things like, "Well, you didn't tell me that, and you know that you did." Uh, so the questions that I have here are about the fact, do you all recognize that sort of person, and have you got one in your life? You know that quote that I said disappeared? It just came back into my system again. Thank goodness for that. How do you like this? Which I thought was really maybe summed it all up, and let me know if you agree that this does. A real parent is someone who puts their kids above their own selfish wants and needs. Now, that's probably written by a kid, right? But do I think that all parents should do that? No, not all of the time. But do I think that children, even adult children, should feel that important? Yes, Kerry, everything you've told me about your mom, I would imagine there are quite a few of my viewers who that would relate to. What about condescending? How many of you relate to condescending parents? Is that part of it? To me, that's that duplicitous thing, right? They pretend that they really care, but they don't. Jerry's comment about friends who pretend they care, but they really don't. Jerry, my question on that one is probably that is a subject all unto itself. So, what about we actually put that down as a possible future subject? Because I believe that there are different issues there. So let me ask you something, Jerry, before I leave that for now. What behavior would you like to see from that friend? And I have one other question. Yes, and I think, Sarah, that's called balance, all right? And what Sarah just said here is I have to admit, and I'm saying this for the replay, I have to admit I don't put my kids above all of the time, but I try to make them feel loved unconditionally, always. And think that that is really what we're getting at. Well done, Kerry. Kerry's saying she did her laundry. Um, Kerry and I are part of a little procrastination group, and if any of you would like to join in, let us know. We set goals for each other. We set personal goals each week, and then we tell each other how we're doing. Um, you'd like to see this friend of yours, Jerry, be more caring, more interested in your lives, and not just polite, so she can get back to herself and her self-centered world. And sometimes she even falls asleep when we talk about ourselves. So my question would be, why is she still a friend? So now we get on to codependency, which is exactly what I'm saying here, right, Peaches? Which is if you got somebody who's treating you like that, why are they still in your life? Now, parents are a little bit more difficult to get rid of, but how many of you know adults who have disowned their parents and or siblings? When I say disowned, but just choose not to interact with them because the price of it is too painful. I would say, yeah, Jerry. I mean, that's what I know you to be a fairly smart person, Jerry. You've commented enough times on blogs and in broadcasts, so I know you're not um, an uncaring person. I also know you have the ability to cut off friends or cut off people that, so you have that ability. So my question is, why would this continue to be? I would first of all seek first to understand, does this person know that they're doing it? All right? Does this person know that they keep switching the conversation back to themselves? Because maybe they're not even aware that they're doing it. So I always ask myself, Jerry, when I have a situation like that, if I were doing this to somebody else, what would I want them to do? Right? What would if I'm guilty of this, what would I want my friend to do? Not just an acquaintance, but somebody I consider to be a friend. And it's just your opinion. And you need to make sure that your friend knows that. This is just my opinion. You might not be doing it to anybody, but I have noticed it when you're talking to me. Do you understand, Jerry? So all I ask is there a reason for it? Am I that boring? And take accountability. Don't go on the attack. Come from a place of maybe you're the one that's that boring that she keeps having to go back to herself. And, part of it, Jerry, is maybe she doesn't know how to do that. Maybe she has never been taught how to be socially interactive. Then you definitely have the right to may have that discussion. Okay, so you get the idea. And Jerry, if you would, be great for you to do something about it, right? Let's be proactive. Don't just sit and complain about it. Do something. And then maybe you can when we do a, a broadcast on that, give us some of your experiences. Would you be willing to do that? What you tried, what happened, and what you're still going to try. You see, I think if this is a friend, if this is a friend, then my feeling is they probably want to know. I would hate to think that I've lost friends because they didn't have the sphericals, for want of a better word. That's a round thing. That they didn't have the sphericals to actually tell me that truth. Well, all right. Now, Jerry, have you ever been through a lot of loss in a short space of time? Yes, I'm sure it hurt. But I mean, if she is going through loss and grieving and everything else, yeah, exactly. So tell me, you might have been lucky, but a lot of us, when we went through grieving or major changes in our life of any sort, because loss can be more than just the loss of a person. It can be a loss of self-esteem. It can be a loss of money. It can be a loss of status. It can be a loss of anything. And you know, any one of us, yeah, exactly. Brass sphericals would be a good description, Jody. Thank you. So, you look at it and you go, I don't know about anybody else, but I do know this. When and I'm almost crying as I say this, that when I went through really serious loss of things and people and animals or whatever, my brain doesn't function properly. It's like you think that you're firing on all cylinders, but you're not. And you only realize that, it's like you go into survival. Do any of you understand what I'm talking about here? You just do whatever you can, and whatever you can may not be pleasing all of your friends. And what I'm inclined to do is to warn my friends. I know that I'm going through huge, yeah, physical or mental or whatever change at the moment. So if I'm sounding a bit strange to you and I'm not behaving the way I normally do, please A, have compassion, and B, help me. Let me know, but don't let me know every day so that I totally freak out because I don't want to lose my friends. But I had one friend of mine who was in a major car accident, Jerry, and she was in this car accident and it actually bruised her brain. And I would think for probably 10 years she wasn't quite right. And 5 at least. And all I kept doing was reminding myself she was in a major accident and it bruised her brain. So every now and then I'd go, I just want to tell you about this bruised brain thing. Are you intentionally trying to tell me to take a running hike, or is this you doing, as Leslie is saying, the fight on or flight reaction? Yes, Jody, I agree. Jody's saying here, for those of you who are watching this on the replay, you literally just need to survive that day, and sometimes, Jody, that hour or that minute. Uh, and Jody's saying it can't be about pleasing everybody at that point. It's just survival at that point. And boy, I've been there, so I know. And I'm pretty sure that Leslie's been there and Jody's been there. I know Kerry has. So everybody has a good reason, Jerry. Everybody has a good reason for doing what they do. It makes sense to them. The problem that we have is we're not on the same page, right? So if this is a friend, find out. You've heard me say this time and time again. One of the greatest quotes I have from my life was I was on a self-awareness um, self-awareness thing. And this one seminar I went to pinpointed for me something that was causing me a lot of problem. And they said, Sal, you really want to start working on seek first to understand, because my reaction to things was my reaction. I really was very slow to find out, why is that person doing that? Because maybe if I could find that out, I'd have more compassion. Am I making sense here, people? Yes, now suddenly, Jerry, you think you may know the reason. So does she need a friend right now, not a critic? And maybe you can get her permission and say to her, "Look, I noticed that you're doing this. Would you like me to give you, shall we have a code word or something if I find that you're doing it?" Yeah, Joe, Leslie, how can we help you, honey? Tell us what you want to tell us. I won't mention it unless you tell me on the feed that I can, but just tell us how we can help you. Yes, yeah, there's a comment here saying narcissists don't change, right? So, because they're so into themselves, they go, "Oh yeah, I care," but they really don't. Now, have any of you done that behavior by accident? You know, where somebody's telling you something and you're so excited about something you want to say that you sort of cut off their train of thought and go on to yours. I'm very guilty of that. But I really like that expression, Jerry. When anything's going wrong, seek first to understand and then make decisions on what you want to do about it. Oh, Leslie, you know we're always here for you, honey. That's wonderful. So proud of you. Now, can you imagine this? That 5 years ago, Liz was agoraphobic, and since then she has got out of the house. She got a driver's license. She's been playing football, I believe. She, much to my amazement, got in an aeroplane. Wow, for a claustrophobic, agoraphobic type person, that is, yikes. Got in a plane and went on vacation. So we know she's capable of a lot of things. Les, just one question. Overwhelm? Is that what it is? Overwhelm? Oh yeah, Triona, I want to tell you something. She inspires us all. Um, yeah, so it was just like, and now she's telling us she's got a full time. No, she's got a full-time job. Oh, wow. You see, and that's why we meet. That's why we meet 3 times a week, is so that we can help one another. All right? Because we've all got stuff going on. And how many of you find that by talking about somebody else's stuff, you're going, wow, I'm dealing with this too. All right. So there we go. Overwhelm is just one of the problems, but let's just talk about the overwhelm side of it. Um, one of the biggest problems that we have is to control the overwhelm. How many of you relate to that one? Well, we love you, honey. We always have. I mean, you got a bit of a funny accent there, Liz, but you know. So I really realized this, just so that you know, that overwhelm did me a lot of harm. Yeah, you have to remember you're not the only one that's going through this stuff, right? All right, I just need to move on with the topic just so that I can get there. But um, overwhelm, Les, if I were telling you I was overwhelming, what would you recommend I do? Do you think I'm overwhelmed with packing, and downsizing this? So here's what I do to make sure I don't go insane. I only have to do 2 hours a day, and that's it. I literally say to myself, I And I actually do more than that, as you can probably imagine, because as I'm going around, I'm doing other things, but 2 hours a day. Yes, how do you eat an elephant, Peaches? One bite at a time, right? So whatever's overwhelming you, Liz, give it an allocated amount of time to do one bite of it or deal with one issue. Deep breaths and a 2x4. You can tell that Leslie is an old timer here. Take a deep breath and take control of the overwhelm. Well done, Les. I'm very proud of you. All right, so the narcissistic other person. What do we recommend to this viewer who has got a cold mother? Do you think maybe she doesn't know what to talk to you about? Maybe I'm just asking this question here. What if every time the mother tried to have a in-depth conversation, it she was cut off? Because I understood, if I got it right, that she can have this, sort of mother-daughter type relationship with the other siblings, but it's with this one sibling that it's a problem. Now, I understand that some of us just rub each other the wrong way, right? We everybody else seems to get on with so and so, but I will have a real problem. And I think that we sometimes just need to look at our side of it as well. Jody, you could have done it without us. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you give us credit. I really appreciate the fact you give us credit, but you know something? You did it. We didn't. I want you to remember that. We didn't get outside the door. We didn't go to an Adele concert, for goodness sake, and sit in the or stand in the 12th row. You did that. Well, you see, Sarah, that's why I like to discuss these things. Oh, I gave you we gave you the kickstart. Yeah, we used the 2x4, but we also did it with humor, if you remember, Liz. And we didn't push you. And for those of you who don't know, I just said to Liz, if you get outside the door, take a picture because I want you to prove it. Take a picture and send it to me. And I do not want to walk around the block, but I will. Right? And I said, please don't hurry because I have no wish to walk around the block. Um, and within a month, I had the picture. And then I thought, well, I really messed with her brain now. And so I said, I can see a gate at the bottom of your garden. If you get the other side of that gate and take the picture, I'll do the big block. That's like a half an hour, more than half an hour. It's over an hour walk. And again, within a few weeks, she sent me the picture. And by the way, a lot of the viewers all did something that we didn't want to do because we realized Leslie had done something that was so frightening to her. And from that point onward, she took off. Yes, and that's what I think that we have to be careful of. If the person is like that to everybody, then the chances are that you've got a condition. If they are only like that to you, then it's a personality problem between the two of you. Does that make sense to anybody? Right? So if they're doing it to everybody, that's probably a condition, in which case they probably need a bit of help. If it's just between the two of you, then that's a personality issue, and you probably do need a bit of help. So my question is, if you both wanted to improve that, then maybe you could both and get some help. Okay, so then Leslie's saying that yes, a narcissist uses people, all right, to their own advantage. not for the general good, but for their how many of you know that narcissists will manipulate things so they always look like the star? By the way, if I can give you an example, you know how Leslie just thanked us for what we did? And I turned it around and said, "No, it's not us, it's you, Les." You know, we were here to support her, no doubt about that. I'll give us full credit for that. And we challenged her and we did all sorts of things. Triangulation, we'll get to that one, Peaches. Hold on to that word. Um, but Les did it. We didn't. We didn't get out of the house. She did. Okay, so here's what I would ask us. If you had a friend who thought that they had this problem, what would you recommend that they do? My point of view is if it takes two to correct it, right? Not one. It takes two to correct it. Now, it takes one to set the boundary that this is no longer acceptable, but then you end up with a lockout. For example, I've got a sister who really abuses me verbally, and does it very politely. Do any of you know what I mean? Um, and it was so bad that I actually took it as some emails and stuff with me once and had somebody assess them. And the professional looked at them and went, "Wow, that's good stuff." And I thought, oh, he was about to tell me that I was really an error. And he said, "No, I want to tell you something. This is so well worded, but you are 100% right. Hi, Teresa, you are being set up all the time." And she's wording it in such a way that she thinks she can't be blamed for any of this, but you're quite right to assume this is going on because it is. I said, "Thank you. That's all I wanted to know." You see, I wanted to know, am I imagining this? Do any of you ever think that to yourself? Am I imagining this is going on? Or is it really going on? So here's the thing. Unless two of you want to fix it, it's difficult, but you can protect yourself. So my attitude is that if somebody is abusing me in any way, or if somebody is sort of doing it intentionally, number one thing, seek first to understand. Okay, my doctor gave me points, Sarah saying this, on how to deal with my narcissistic ex. I had to set specific boundaries. Yep, that's what I'm saying. And if he didn't agree, I was to say, "I have to take a break. Can we talk about this later?" Yeah, rather than get all sucked in, right? That large sucking sound where you lose your control because of the behavior. So, I look at it and I do that a lot when people are trying to pick fights with me and I can feel myself getting triggered. Do you know what I mean by triggered? I start to get angry inside and I'm thinking that's not fair and that's not right and that's not. I actually will say, "I'm really sorry. I need to stop this conversation because I'm beginning to get triggered and I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret for the rest of my life. So I need to walk away now." And then the other person will go, "We need to deal with this right now." And da, da. I said, "No, we don't. You might, but I don't need to deal with it right now. I choose not to deal with it right now because I'm emotionally charged and I wish to get back into a place of love before I discuss this with you." So that could take me about 24, 48 hours, but I'm not going to discuss it anymore. And, they will actually, I've had it happen where they follow me and go, "But we have to talk." I go, "No." And so do whatever works, right? S- But here's the thing. The first thing is, are they aware that they're doing it? For example, if my for example, let me give an example of this, all right? I flew all the way to Africa because that's where my mom was when she was not doing so well. And I was sitting with her in her ward. And one day, one day, the husband of a wife in a bed opposite my mother's, who had serious dementia, um, said to me, "I noticed that you're here on your own looking after your mom." Um, and I was in a very rural area. And he said, "If you'd like to go to town, I have to go tomorrow. I'll gladly take you with me." What a nice thought, right? And I said, "How kind of you. Thank you." And my mother just went insane that I was going to go to town with the husband of another woman who was sick. Now, whose problem was that? Was that my problem or my mother's problem? Because I looked at her and I said, "Where is your mind?" "Well, you shouldn't be going with somebody else's husband." I said, "That is a friend who invited to take me and let me get to the nearest town and do some shopping." I think that was very kind of him, considering I'm sitting in rural Africa without any transport. I think that was very kind of him. So whatever you're imagining I am up to, I think that's on you, it's nothing to do with me. Does that make sense to anybody? Where her mind wasn't through anything I'd done. So what happened was that she went up one side of me and down another, and I looked at her and I smiled, and I went, "Mom, I just want to tell you something. I've traveled, halfway across the world to come and be here with you. But if you think this little of me, there is no reason for me to stay. And so I need you to give some thought to what you just said and what you did. And if you'd like to apologize, let the nurses know and they will contact me. And I will come and accept your apology, or at least listen to it. However, if I haven't heard from you within 24 hours, I'm booking my flight home." Make sense? And it took maybe an hour before the nurses, phoned me and said, "She's really upset. You need to come and see her." And I go, "No, not yet." She needs to really know what she did. And it was unforgivable. Her personal experiences of being cheated on or whatever, were now being projected onto me. Who was it that talked about triangulation? Was that Peaches? All right, let's have a little talk about triangulation in case nobody has anybody got an example of it? I'm going to draw it so that people can see what happens here. Okay. And I need to get on to the second case study, or we could leave it for the next time. But okay, so let's do this. All right, so for triangulation to work, you understand you need 3 people. Good start. All right, so Peaches, if you want to give us the story, we'll slot in the bits. And this happens a lot, and it used to drive me insane. I won't put up with it anymore. Mothers do this a lot with their siblings. They'll be talking to one sibling, let's say this is mother and this is a sibling, and the mother will say to the sibling, "How's your brother doing?" Right? That's a triangulation. We had so many problems on the other sites, Leslie, that we're trying to see if everybody prefers this. At the moment, they do. All right? And then what happens is this sibling says the answer to what they believe is going on with brother, and then mother phones brother and says, "Well, your sister told me da 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 da." That's in other words, they took the information here and used it to their advantage to talk to this one, and now there's a problem between these two. Did that make sense to anybody? Yeah, Liz, and that's why I changed it. It's we were losing some really nice viewers because of the problems in Vaughan, and that's when I said no, I'd rather do it. They don't even know they're being manipulated. Now, it happened to me in my family where the person up here was my sister, and this was my father, and this was me. And it was amazing how many times my father would say, "But your sister tells me." Okay, Sarah. So, Sarah, give her a big hand. Everybody, give Sarah a hand. Give Leslie a hand. All right? Because if you can see that you do it, would you like to know what the correct answer is? And train your children, your friends, and everybody else to give you the right answer. Are you ready? If somebody says to me now, "How is Fred doing?" I go, "You might want to phone Fred and find out." Yeah, no, but I'm talking to you, so I thought you could tell me you might want to, you know, phone Fred and find out. Now, do we do it occasionally? I do it occasionally about different viewers. I've got to be quite honest about that because I've got one viewer, for example, who won't talk to me, but I know he talks to other viewers, and I still care. So yes, I do want to know how he's doing. It's still triangulation. Makes sense. But, and as Kerry was saying as well, if you've been cut out, it doesn't mean that you've stopped caring. And that's the interesting thing to me. I think talking behind somebody's back could be slightly different, Jerry. I think talking behind somebody's back would be having a negative conversation here about somebody. All right? Is it still talking behind somebody's back where the intent is positive? It's a pleasure, Sarah. What did you learn? Yeah, the difference is the intention, I think. But yeah, so Jerry, I agree with you, and that's why I'm just asking the question so everybody can think about that. Does it matter whether this is a positive or negative intent? Is it still the same thing? It's still a triangulation. That's the point I'm trying to say. So yeah, I'm guilty of it. Okay, so uh, hopefully the person who talked to me about this, bottom line, I would recommend is have a serious conversation and acknowledge that it's going on, and seek first to understand is what is it you're doing that's creating that. All right. So in other words, be willing to listen to what she would like. But if she's told you what she would like from you and you choose not to do it, then do you understand what the message is you're sending? Now, I've got that situation that goes on with me because my sister said, "How about when you come to my house, I can treat you any way I like. And when I come to your house, you can treat me any way you like." And I went, "You've got to be insane. If you think I am going to give you permission to abuse me, you're wrong. I would rather not see you." What if she doesn't see it herself? Well, that's the whole point. If she doesn't see that she's doing it, try and do it nicely. See, just go, "I noticed that you've been a little cold recently. Have I done something to really, pee on your cornflakes?" Right. And if there is no acknowledgement of it, and I know I'm fine, I treat you the same as everybody else, then what have you got? You got a liar that chooses not to see it. And in which case, anything that you try to do to help could be a waste of energy. But There's nothing wrong with saying, "Well, I am really having a problem with it, so I was wondering if you would come to therapy with me, because I would like us to have a better relationship than we have." Now, I know what my mother would have told me on that. Um, you know, my mother would not have taken nicely to that because, my mother was perfect. So therefore, sh and thought that anything to do with, therapists or psychiatrists or anything else was, only for people who was insane. So, you could never get her to a third party type situation, but that's fine. So I think, you still have the choices here. And I admire the fact. Yeah, exactly, Triana. And we need to look at ourselves. Are we also the perfect ones? Right? Are we the ones going, I choose not to face this monster in the face? I think, yeah. Don't we all do that though, Triana? Right? We put up the barrier to protect ourselves before. I do it with my sister for sure. And you know why? I know that I've been hurt so many times by her. But the thing is, I quite agree with you. Yeah, I know that I protect myself faster than I ever used to. So that is a reality. All right, are you ready for the second one? Because we've only got half an hour to go. Are you enjoying this? Well, you know something, Kerry? I don't get as angry about it either. I don't get as angry about it as I used to. I used to always be angry, and now I'm not angry because I choose not to deal with it. You know what I mean? I choose not to get involved in it. Okay, here's the second one. Let me get my notes here so I can read it to you because I like to make sure that you get the story. By the way, if you are enjoying this, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already clicked the bell, I think it's up in the top right-hand corner, and that will tell you every time we're going to do a live broadcast. Okay? All right. So here's the next one. If you had told me about his situation, just know it's a guy, his mother-in-law to be put down the deposit for his girlfriend's apartment. Do you get that? They're in an apartment that the mother-in-law to be put down the deposit on. Okay. Before she met him. The intention was, and I quote, "It's for you and your brother." Yet the title deed is in her name alone. Don't ask me why. Because if it was true that it was for her and her brother, then why didn't she put it in joint names? I don't know. He, the boyfriend, has lived with the girlfriend for over a year, so it's a pretty, long-going relationship. And for some reason, the mother-in-law to be doesn't accept that he is in her daughter's life, and even said to him, "I don't know why your things are in the bathroom. You should take them out of there. You're just a guest." So, my first question to you all is, do you understand the situation? Do you have any questions about the situation? I might not be able to have all the answers, though. I thought this was a great one to talk about. Hi, Melody. Okay, first question, other than the do you understand it? What is your initial reaction to this story? So Melody immediately is saying she is not accepting that daughter grew up and made choices. Okay. So any other first reactions? Yeah, the question is, why did she do it? To maintain control over who? The daughter? Yeah, it's okay, Melody. Yeah, Peaches, we'll get there. It's probably not going to happen, right? So Jerry is now asking about the daughter. Is the issue with the mother or is the issue with the daughter? Well, Jody, that's what I said. If if the title is in her name, she owns the property. If she owns the property and there's not a subclause in there saying I get to choose who you can have in there, um, she gets to make the rules. It's like I have the title deed of my place, right? The bank owns a bit of it. The bank doesn't tell me who I can have stay overnight. Why should the boyfriend pay rent? I hope you like the bank analogy because that's the best one I could think of. They're even, yeah, which is what I said. But we'll get to that, Sarah. I said the same thing. That would really mess everybody's brain. All right. Yeah, Peaches. That was one of my options. So here's the thing. Have any of you ever had a similar situation? I had it happen with an aunt of mine once who gave me money for a present. I bought the present, and then she complained about the present I bought and how could I be so frivolous? And I'm going, sorry, I thought you gave me money for a present so I could buy something that pleased me. Did I get that wrong? I didn't see the line that said, but you better check with me before you buy anything to make sure I approve. I didn't see that line in the card. Now, my aunt didn't like that, but there is a hidden agenda here. She had a vision in her mind what I would do with that money, and I did something different with it. So, interesting, right? So, if your mother had put your name on a title of an apartment, what would you be doing in this situation? Try and put yourself in the daughter's position now. Mother has very generously put down the deposit for your apartment. And now you've got a boyfriend there, and she's busy telling the boyfriend that he doesn't have the right to be there. What would you be doing with mom? Okay, I'm not seeing any feedback on this one. I'd be telling mum to do stuff that I cannot mention on here. It's right, unless we don't want to get. Yeah, but the thing is, I'd be asking her, sorry, I thought this was my apartment. Do you want to have your name on title? Is that what you're telling me? That you want to have input as to who visits me and who stays here and who I choose to live my life with? I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, right? She needs to find out where the mother's mind is. Does the mother have the right to tell, hi, Alice? Does the mother have the right to tell her adult daughter's boyfriend, not the daughter, the boyfriend, what he is meant to do and not do? I always have this argument. I've got a tenant in my house that's been with me for nearly 20 years. If ever and she has people staying with her. If I have an issue going on with any of the people that stay with her, I don't talk to them. I talk to the person that has their name on the rental agreement. Makes sense. So it's not for the mother to talk to the boyfriend, whether she likes him or not. I mean, how many of you can see that that is wrong for her to be undermining the relationship like that? However, Pat's saying it depends who's paying the bills. Now, what bills are we talking about? You're talking about over and above the initial deposit, Pat? You see, if I, in my generosity, decide to give somebody a deposit for a house, I do not believe that I have the right to tell them who they can have staying there. Now, if I'm also then continuing to pay the electrical hydro, as we call it in Canada, the electrical, the rates and taxes, whatever. If I'm busy paying all those things, then yeah, that's a different story. But if what they did was put down the deposit, then what they do with the house, depending on what the document says. The document may say, and if they sell it, then if she sells it, then I get my deposit back or whatever. It's whatever the contract says. And I agree with you, Alice, right? The mother has emotional blackmail, but not rights. The person whose name is on the title deed is the daughter. So, my next question to you all is, if you were sitting in my position, what would you tell your viewer in terms of options? Let's think about that, right? Because we can't tell people what to do, but we can give them options. So, what options would you recommend we give this viewer? And I'll let you know whether I gave the same ones. I had quite a few, as you can probably imagine. Right, Alice. Alice is saying that the mother will continue to think she has control over everything until the daughter tells her otherwise. In other words, puts down a boundary. By the way, Alice, she actually does have control of everything, right? That's why she's continuing to do it, is because she does have control, obviously, of the daughter. Peaches is saying he needs to talk to his girlfriend. And Patricia, Pat, is saying we need to seek first to understand. We need to know both sides of the story. What are we not knowing about the mother's side of the story? Alice, you and I agree on so many of these things. I do believe that the daughter is responsible for this problem, in as much as you have to teach people how they're allowed to treat you. I great believer that I cannot tell this viewer what to do, right? But I can suggest stuff. And I said, number one is maybe the daughter needs to have a serious chat with mom. That's a possibility. How does the daughter feel about this? How does the daughter feel that the mother is busy interfering with her relationship? Because if she hasn't had that discussion with her mother, you know, so be it. Exactly, Alice, right? We can tell them that this doesn't work very well, but it doesn't mean they're going to change. So I said to the viewer, the obvious thing, and some of you have already said this, the obvious thing would be to sell the place and go live somewhere else together if that's what you want to do. But I wouldn't suggest that unless you're thinking of getting married. All right, because you cannot continue to live your relationship under these circumstances. Because if she thinks so little of you that she's calling you a guest after you've been living there for a year, and that you're not allowed to have your toothbrush or whatever in the spare bathroom, that's mother controls what's going on, not daughter. So my next question, and I don't know if any of you are thinking the same thing, but my next question is, what chance do you think there is for this relationship? If you heard your son tell you this story about the mother-in-law, what would you do? And the answer, hopefully, is I tell him, I understand it must be very difficult for you, and not tell him what to do. I mean, I do get that. But what I'm saying is, yeah, it doesn't look very promising, does it, as an outsider? Now, I don't mind telling you that when I got married, my my family did say to me that this was a very wrong decision on my part. Well, Jerry, both. I didn't advise him to move on, but I did ask him exactly the question. I said, "What do you think the chances are of this relationship working if this is going on? Because surely it must cause problems between you and your girlfriend. And if not overtly, covertly. So you need to have a serious talk to the girlfriend." He said, "I need to go and talk to the mother." I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. You do not talk to the mother. This is not about the mother. This is about the daughter not setting the boundary." All right. And I think a lot of you agree with me. But here is the thing, the daughter needs to be really clear about what the mother's expectation was when she put down that deposit. And that needs to be really clear. And I'd almost say, maybe we need to sit down with a lawyer and make sure that we understand. Now, he has, as far as I know, this person has good credit. In fact, this person works at a bank. Well, yes, Jerry, that's what I'm saying is that two lots of relationships are going to get hurt on this one if you're not careful. Number one, the boyfriend-girlfriend relationship is going to be hurt continuously because, that daughter is in an awkward situation. But the mother-daughter relationship could be damaged a great deal because what if the daughter does put down the boundary and then that causes a severance between the mother-daughter relationship? Will the daughter forever blame him? So that's why I said you cannot get involved here. Yeah, Alice, I totally agree. Alice is saying that if you can set the boundaries until you're blue in the face, but if the other person doesn't respect the boundaries, it won't work. In which case, you need to change the playing field. So does this make sense to anybody? And do any of you relate to it in anything that's going on in your life? Because the whole reason we do these case studies is so that you can see it from the outside looking in. Yeah, Jerry, I agree that the mother-daughter relationship already must be damaged. Peaches, yep, daughter needs to set boundaries with consequences. Or needs to say, "I didn't realize that this was your condition when you gave me the deposit. I need to sell the place now so I can give you the money back." No, Sarah, that's why that was my feeling as well. I don't see a win-win here. I the because yeah, Alice, you see, Alice and I, are very similar in this, which is I've told you how I feel. You choose not to do anything about it. That's your right. And I respect your right not to do anything about it. But don't expect me to sit here and let it continue because it's not. Therefore, I choose to get out of the line of fire. You see, what happened to me all my life was these things were going on, and I'd stand there in the line of fire going, "Shoot me," you know, "Hit me. It's fine. I'm not moving anywhere because you're family." I've now learned it's like, "Okay, you want to shoot, you know, I'm out of here." And so, what I want to know is whether it's with a friend, whether it's with a parent, whether it's with, whatever. Do any of you understand that this is going on in your life as well? In which case, I want to really give a big thank you to the viewer who told me about this. Alice, I know you're not as cold as you sound. You just choose not to get manipulated by people, right? And that takes a lot of courage. And also, and the reason I say it takes a lot of courage, Alice, is because a lot of relationships will die because of that. Right? Because you won't be manipulated. You will stand and protect your boundary. So Alice, the fact that it's going on in your life at the moment, I've known you a long time, and I know you're a very, very fair person. I'd have to say that. You will always be fair at the beginning. You know something, I'm sorry to hear, and Jerry saying that he had to move away from his father because he was so controlling. It's not easy to do. And, part of you always second guesses it, Jerry, right? I mean, it was the right thing to do, but then there's that voice in your head that goes, maybe I didn't do enough. Um, but the price that you pay, yeah, exactly. And Jerry, I totally know. That's what I had to do in my family, is I had to just say, that's it, it's enough. I've tried so many times, and every time I end up the bad person. Why would I continue to do this? And I can tell you why, Jerry. I can tell you why I kept going back for more was because of what I heard from the nuns and Happy Easter, which was turn the other cheek, be the bigger person, whatever. And and then I found out years later that's not what it meant. Years later, I found out that I didn't have to turn the other cheek. And so here's what Alice is saying, which is, but I have no fare left for my mum. I don't have to do anything else, right? You've done what you can, Alice, and you wish her well. And now she needs to make a decision. You see, it takes two people to make this decision. If only one wants this relationship to continue, then it won't. But if two people want the relationship to continue, then you will do whatever it takes. All right. Which means that mum and daughter will probably end up going to therapy or, whatever. So here we have from Sarah, being in a similar situation, it's so damaging when you let someone take control for a long time. Oh gosh, I totally understand that one. I want to tell you it's wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. It's wonderful for people to hear this before it goes on too long. I wish that I had understood triangulation. I wish I had understood boundaries. I wish I had been taught about controlling behaviors a lot earlier, like when I was still in my teens. I believe that we need to do more to teach our people we care about these issues. Now, I'm pretty sure that some of you already have, but if you've never been taught it, how would you be able to teach your children? How would you be able to teach your son to get out of Dodge if you had been codependent? By the way, for those of you who don't know what codependent is, do I have any codependent people out there or ex-codependents? And I say that because I don't want people to have to admit they don't know what it is. Uh, Basically, I like to describe it as the only way you are happy is by trying to make the other person happy, which, by the way, doesn't make you happy at all. It makes you very sad. But basically, a codependent is somebody who lives their life through the happiness of the other person. So if the other person is happy, then I did a good job. So they don't actually live their own life at all. Does that make sense? And I was one of those people, so I know the story really well. So, yeah, Sarah, you've been codependent. How would you describe it? Because I think it's sort of like different things. I I actually decided to go to, you have AA and Alcoholics Anonymous. They actually have one for codependents called CODA, Codependent No More, Codependents Anonymous. And the funny thing was that when I went there, they'd be talking about stuff, and I go, I'm good at this stuff. Really, this is me. I'm so good at this one. And they basically threw me out of the group. All right. So, yes, Alice, you're saying I don't have the energy to deal with it anymore, right? I've been hitting my head against a brick wall for the longest time. I'm an adult now. She doesn't accept the fact that I've grown up and I have, my own views. I'm paraphrasing this now, not what Alice said, but she's done enough hitting her head against a brick wall. Now she's getting out of the line of fire, right? She's just saying, "Hey, you want to believe?" I do that with a lot of people who phone me and say, "Well, I think you did da da da." I'm sorry that you think I did that. I didn't, by the way. If you want to hear my side of the story, I didn't. But if you really want to hear my side of the story, feel free to get back to me and I'll tell you. Yes, and Sarah's giving another definition of this codependent personality. Um, as you're only happy when the other one is, right? It's the only way. You can't be happy on your own. You're always worried about, have I done enough? If the other person is nasty to you, thank you, Peaches. I appreciate the help. Um, if the other person is nasty to you, then you believe it's because you haven't loved them enough. It's not because they're an idiot. It's because you haven't loved them enough. So now you turn yourself into more of a pretzel and you do even more to enable them, quite honestly. And so it's a very sick way to live. Yes, because you're not grounded or rooted in yourself. Your whole life depends on this other person. Somebody else here saying, my sense of self-worth was dependent on the other person's mood. Absolutely. So again, we're all saying it. We're all saying it in different ways. Now we're seeing, are narcissistic people codependent? I think I think they need codependents around them. I'm not sure if they are codependent. I believe that they need to be surrounded by codependent people who will do anything to keep them happy. That's how, but I could be wrong in that. I'll have to do more research on narcissists. Because if anybody doesn't make them feel good, they'll get rid of them. All right? So they need people-pleasing people around them. Right? Serious people-pleasing people around them. And if you don't make me feel good, then you're gone. So think of it that way. So what do you understand that we cannot tell these people what to do? Okay, I'm just watching here, Kerry saying that I was a chronic people pleaser and finally got sick of constantly being hurt and stepped away. It hurt like crazy, but I'm more content with who I am now. Yeah, I want to tell you something, Kerry. I so agree with you. The first time, I always remember this issue about my sister phoning me when when my father was in hospital, close to me, far away from her, and she wouldn't fly. She's scared of flying. And so when he got put in hospital, she phoned me to say, "Don't go near your father until I get there." And I said, "I beg your pardon?" And she said, "I'm just telling you, wait until I get there before you go visit him." I burst out laughing. Talk about control. I burst out laughing and I said, the last time I checked, I was an adult. And as an adult, I need to tell you something. He is my father too. So as an adult, I also want to tell you that I will go and see him whenever I damn well please. And as you are going to take 48 hours to get there, and he is in intensive care, you know, with the possibility of not making it, I believe he deserves one of us there. So I'm on my way. Bye. I put the phone down, packed my case, and I left. And, it was like, can you believe the control issue there? What was she scared of? I was going to rewrite the will that she had written to say I would be not entitled to his money. You know, what what did she think was gonna happen? My concern was not about me, my concern was about him, that he needed to know somebody was there calling the shots for him. Oh, Debbie, if you wanna drive yourself insane, keep that thinking going, because it's not true, right? She did actually, to be fair, she did actually contact me because she had to make a life or death decision, and she didn't wanna make it. So she phoned me. And the life or death decision was the stuff they were pumping into my father's veins was destroying his veins, and it would eventually, just literally destroy the veins completely, in which case he would die. Or they could remove the stuff that they were pumping in him, and then he would die. So she phoned me and said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "This is hysterical. You don't want me to make any decision, but now that's the life and death one, you want me to make it? Really?" Why? So you can spend the rest of your life saying that made the wrong call? I mean, whatever. Now, I could have said, "Make the decision," and drop the phone down, but I didn't. I told her what my decision would be. Yeah, exactly, Peaches. I understood this and I called it for what it was, right? You want me to be the bad guy. So I wouldn't be able to say, "Well, you made the bad call." You see, that's what she was scared of. If she made the call, I might come back and say that she killed him. Um, yeah, like, really. I know. I gotta go. I got food to cook. So what I wanted to thank you for is, do you understand that we have amazing amount of adult parents still controlling their adult children? In fact, they're childish parents controlling adult children who continue to be children, right? Because if you are not setting a boundary with respect, a nice boundary, then you are as guilty as as the mother. If you don't turn around every now and then to the people in your life and saying, "Whoa, excuse me, that doesn't work for me. What am I having for dinner?" We always get this question on a Sunday. It's Easter Sunday, and as you may know, I cook my meals to please Papa. Papa is 85 and he can't eat very much anymore. And he chose shepherd's pie. Oh, wait, do you want to see my disaster of the day? I tried to do something really cute and it didn't work. Yes, people will treat you the way you allow them to treat you. I totally agree, Alice. Do you want to see my failure? I mean, I'm happy not to show you if you don't want to, but I'm gladly show you that my life is not perfect, as you know. Okay, hold on a second. So, so I always do buns on a Sunday, and I try to make bunny rabbits out of bread. That didn't work very well. It's got a tail, but I don't think you. It looks more like a frog, doesn't it? Do you think that they will get the fact that I tried? Obviously, it needs a year of practice before I do that again. Alice, thank you for coming in and, reminding us, all right, that, you had the courage to do what you needed to do so you could live your life. And is your life perfect, Alice? Absolutely not. But you do live it. You do live it on your terms. And for that, I think you are happier. Yeah, I think it looks more like a frog as well. I mean, I could say I tried to make frogs, but you know me better. I'll tell the truth. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Hope you've enjoyed it. I will cut out the chat when we do the replay of this. It'll take me a little while to get there to do that. So if it's not gone immediately, you will understand why. um, Alice, you careful of the wording here because YouTube is really fussy about the words we use. You love frogs, Jerry, so that you did well. Okay. Yeah, I think when I put butter on it and eat it, it's going to taste just like bread. However, I did want to share that with you because I think sometimes you think that those of us who do what I do are perfect people, and I just want to make sure we have a level playing field here. I want to thank you for your input. I want to thank you for helping one another. And most of all, I want you to see that when we tell people what to do, we are controlling them. So please, if anybody asks you what to do, give them options, not not tell them what to do. I get a lot of people who call me for help. Sal, this is happening. What do I do? And I go, I don't know, because it's your life and you get to do what you choose. Because last time I checked, you're an adult. But I can tell you from my experience, I can give you some options. And I give good options and I give bad options. And I said, by the way, the last person who did this option ended up in jail. So you might not want to do that one, but it's your choice. Do you understand? Give them options. Don't tell them how to live their life. So I would say big hugs to you all. Thank you for being here. By the way, if this helps you, um, you know, feel free to contribute on the super chat thing. But the other point of view is this: if this helped you, please let people know that we do this. The whole reason that we broadcast here is to help people. So if you know people who need to be here, I am trying to make it more obvious about what we're going to chat about each week, which I hope will give us a bit of a framework. But as some of you know, we are, a group of people that help one another. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. We'll see you on Friday, hopefully. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, remember to look after one another, but most of all, please, please, please Pizza. All right, everybody, big hugs. This is DearMamaSal saying bye bye for now. Bye.